All right, Shalom. I'd like to start off with saying Kyle Halayim La Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Harakah Kodash Ma'amah. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone and my elder Herawan as well. Salutations to the Akim that are pushing the truth and sincerity and truth, and peace and blessings to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. All right, Kanak among Yashala from the Lions in the Yashala camp. And this lesson topic is on this article. If you survived the initial blast, this is what scientists think would happen after a nuclear attack. All right, and I read the title of this and I read like the first paragraph and I'm like, yeah, this is not what's gonna happen. The How Shimon Shai specifically says what's gonna happen at the point of a nuclear attack when these missiles get shot off. All right, and I just want to go into it a little bit. What Yahweh Shimon Shai says is going to happen scripturally. And Lord willing, this lesson is edifying to serve His purpose for the hopeful elect, the ones that truly believe in the name of Yahweh Shimon Shai. All right. It says if you survive the initial blast, this is what scientists think would happen after a nuclear attack. Because amid the Russian invasion of Ukraine and rising geopolitical tensions, revived fears of nuclear war have prompted many to question what a nuclear conflict would mean for humanity and the planet. All right, and Yahweh Shimon Shai um, um, pretty much explains that, you know. And I'm gonna get some scriptures in a minute going into that. Um, from Yahweh Shimon Shai's point of view. Okay, it says it says any nuclear conflict would have a huge range of devastating consequences, from initial deaths in the direct blast to the lingering effects of radiation and environmental pollution. Right, it's gonna turn the water into turn to wormwood. You know, wormwood is a missile. All right, it says, but immediate casualties could be dwarfed by deaths from a subsequent global famine caused by massive amounts of shot blocking of the sun and disrupting climate systems and food production, according to the new research published in the journal in the Food Journal. So now that's going to happen, but the famine and all that stuff is going to come before the nuclear strike. All right, it's going to be a famine already going on before these missiles hit. All right, it says, and they're all about pushing this whole global warming, climate change issue, and that's a part of their new agenda for their NWO. So climate scientists at Rutgers University have mapped out the effects of six possible nuclear war scenarios. All right, that's funny, six possible nuclear wars, but you know, we're going to be delivered in six Trump, Lord willing, part of that number. It says a full-scale nuclear war between the U.S. and Russia, the worst scenario um, molded modeled could result in more than 5 billion people dying of hunger after 2 years. When the Lord said in 1 hour America's going to be destroyed, so ain't really going to be that whole lot of people around afterwards for for this effect, and they're going to be right to work when the elect come down out of those chariots and put everybody else in slavery. Right, but it is going to be a nuclear conflict between the United States and Russia. That's biblical. All right. It says even a relatively small scale conflict between India and Pakistan could lead to worldwide famine. In a nuclear war, bombs targeted at cities and industry areas would start firestorms, injecting large amounts of soot into the upper atmosphere, which could spread globally and rapidly cool the planet. Say the researchers. It says this would disrupt the Earth's climate, impacting food production systems and land in the ocean. The researchers used a climate forecasting tool to estimate the productivity of major crops on a country-to-country basis. It said the analysts that would happen. The analysts that they analyzed that They analyzed what would happen in six possible nuclear conflict scenarios, each of which would result in different amounts of soot in the atmosphere and could see temperatures fall between 1 and 16 degrees Celsius. Even a relatively small scale battle between India and Pakistan could result in the crop yields declining by about 7% within 5 years of the conflict. Both countries possess nuclear arsenals of comparable size of the world's non-nuclear armed countries. The two are also among the handful that have been increasing their nuclear warhead stockpiles, according to the Federation of American Scientists. Meanwhile, full-scale nuclear war between U.S. and Russia, which are jointly esteemed to account for 90% of the world's nuclear stockpile, and uh, could see production fall by around 90% in the 3 to 4 year after the fighting. All right, it says now once it's done, it's done. America's going to be destroyed, and Russia's going to be destroyed right along with it because all kingdoms are going to fall once these nuclear missiles get shot off, man. And the Lord says He's going to shoot all these missiles off. Every single missile that was ever stockpiled and made is going to be shot off. It is what it is, man. There's no way around that. It says so next section, it says listen to scientists. No, listen to Yahweh Bashim Shai. And what did they say? What did they say? We will trust science. All right. So now they're leaning on the scientists and not being aware of what Yahweh Bashim Shai says is going to happen. It says the researchers considered um, mitigating factors like using crop fed to livestock as human food or reducing household food waste concluded that these sorts of interventions would not stop the large part of the world's experiencing famine, especially after a large-scale conflict. Crop declines would be most severe in the mid-high latitude nations, according to major exporting countries such as Russia and the United States, which could trigger export restrictions and cause severe disruption in import-dependent countries in Africa and the Middle East. And we're witnessing that now with the supply chain. It says future work will bring even more granularity, granularity, granularity to the crop models, said Lily Z, lead author of the study of assistant research professor in the School of Environment and Biological Science at Rutgers University. For instance, the ozone layer would be destroyed by the heating of the stratosphere, producing more ultraviolet radiation at the surface, and we need to understand that impact on food supplies, she said. All right. It says if nuclear weapons exist, they can be used, and the world has come close to nuclear war several times, and we're close. We're the closest as we ever been, said Alan Robach, the the study the study's co-author and a professor of climate science in the Department of Environmental Science at Rutgers University. Banning nuclear weapons is the only long-term solution, he said. That's not going to happen. The 5-year-old UN Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons has been uh, ratified by 66 nations, but none of the 9 nuclear states. Our work makes clear that it is time for those 9 states to listen to science and the rest of the world and sign this treaty. Right, but it's not going to happen because the Lord's not going to allow that to happen because the Lord is going to bring judgment to the earth, man. He's going to bring straight judgment to the earth. So there's no way around it. The only way the earth is going to be denuclearized is these missiles being shot up, and 200 million of them are going to hit. 200 million warheads are going to hit America. All right, this is Second Ezra chapter 9, verse 22. It says, Let the multitude perish then, which are born in vain. Let my grape be kept. So the cluster of grapes that are kept by Yahweh by Shemal Shai are the only ones that are going to make it out of the destruction. It says, let the multitude perish then, which was born in vain, and let my grape be kept, and my plant for with great labor have I made it perfect. Right. And our perfection is made through faith, man. The ones that have the pure faith and knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of Yahweh by Shemal Shai, those are the perfect ones. All right. So now, with that being said, we bring out these scriptures all the time dealing with nuclear destruction, and we sound like a broken record. But the scripture says, whether they hear or forbear, give them no rest. Roughly paraphrasing those two scriptures that are kind of, compounded together, but you get what I'm saying, right? So I want to get Isaiah chapter 13, verse 1, because there's reasoning behind us continuing on and on. We don't care if we have to bring out the same scriptures over and over, because it's the same message over and over again. America is going to be destroyed by thermonuclear warfare, ICBM missile. Every single missile that was ever made a stockpile is going to be shot off. Right? It's Isaiah 13 and 1. It says, the burden of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amos did see. It says, lift thee up a banner upon the high mountain. Exalt the voice unto them. Shake the hand that they may go into the gates of the noble. That's why we give them no rest. Because that banner that we lift up is the ensign, the signal, Yahweh Shai. All right? That high mountain is the exalted government of America, which is backed by European Union and NATO. All right? So we're prophesying this until it gets all the way into the gates of the noble. All right? We're talking to these scientists. We're talking to these government officials. We're talking to these elites when we make these videos also, telling them, letting them know the judgment of Yahweh by Shemal Shai that is to come. Okay? Verse 3, it says, I have commanded my sanctified ones. I have also called my mighty ones for my anger, even them that rejoice in my kindness. The noise of the multitude in the mountains, like as a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts mustereth the host of the battle. Right, so this is Yahweh by Shemal Shai. It's like my earpiece keeps falling out. This is Yahweh by Shemal Shai mustering up the host of battle, putting in their minds of ultimately these scientists to bring forth these weapons. Matter of fact, Yahweh by Shemal Shai muster up the host of the battle. All right, it says, this is Isaiah chapter 54, verse 16. It says, Behold, I, Yahweh by Shemal Shai, have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. I have created the waster to destroy. Right. So now he has created the waster to destroy, and these missiles are going to destroy everything, man. So that's why the scripture said, let me keep going. It said, verse 17 says, no weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper. All right. So no weapon. So these are weapons that are formed against us. But Yahweh by Shemal Shai is the one that's influencing the formation of these weapons. So it's not going to prosper against the elect, because the elect is different, deliverance. It said, that's why it said in 2nd Ezra chapter 9, let my grape be kept, but let the multitude perish that were born in vain. All right. So all these other people that die, they're just collateral damage, man. Casualties of war. It is what it is. Pawns on the chessboard. That's what they're set up for, the destruction. And ultimately, the rest of everybody that's left is going to go into slavery, and everybody that's born from these other nations are going to be born into slavery, but the ones that are of the children of Israel are going to be born into righteousness in the kingdom. All right. Isaiah chapter 13, verse 9, it says, they come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. Right, because the Lord is opening up his armory. He's bringing judgment to this place. And there's nobody that can turn it back. Like it says, like a archer with a well-drawn bow. Can't nobody turn that arrow back, man. It says, verse 6, How ye, for the day of the Lord is at hand, and it shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. So it's going to annihilate the United States, man. America, Babylon the Great. Therefore shall all hands be faint, and every man's heart shall melt. Right, you're going to see the fear in these devils. You're finally going to see the fear in these devils, man. Let me try to find another scripture real quick. Um, this is uh, Job chapter 18, verse 11. It says, "Terror shall make him afraid on every side, and shall drive him to his feet." Right. So as these other nations start to rise up and come against America, all right, that's when everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, wait a minute." It says, "His strength shall be hunger bitten, and destruction shall be ready at his side." Right. Because he went into perdition, and that's what that same perdition that he went into is going to be what's going to destroy him. It says, "It shall devour the strength of his skin, even the firstborn of death shall devour his strength. His confidence shall be rooted out of his tabernacle, and shall bring him to the king of terrors." Man, this is Yahweh Shemel Shai bringing all this terror on this place. All right, back to Isaiah chapter 13, verse 7. It says, "Therefore shall all hands be faint, and every man's heart melt, and they shall be afraid. Pangs and sorrow shall take hold of them. They shall be in pain as a woman that travaileth." Right. You're going to see Jacob going through that pain during the time of Jacob's trouble. And then that pain is going to transition to these other nations during the time of this ultimate destruction. It says, "And they shall be afraid, pangs and sorrow shall take hold of them. They shall be in pain as a woman that travaileth. They shall be amazed one at another. Their faces shall be as flames." Man, it's going to burn them all the way up, man. It says, "Behold, the day of the Lord cometh cruel, both with wrath, fierce anger, and fierce anger to lay the land desolate. And he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it." So there's not going to be any room for any crops to be grown or nothing like that. All right. So what's going to happen after these missiles hit? Slavery for the ones that are left. All right. But nobody's going to make it out of Babylon unless you get delivered. All right. Verse 10, it says, "For the stars of heaven and the constellation thereof shall not give their light." Right. They spoke about that in the article. It says, "The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine." All right, because the earth is going to reel to and fro like a drunkard, man. There's going to be nuclear fallout everywhere. All right, and also you ain't going to be finding nobody teaching in that day. All right, it says, "And I will punish the world for their evil and the wicked for their iniquity, and I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible." Right. So there Esau's being running rampant, being terrible on the earth. Now he's going to see what real terror is when he gets to stand face to face to the king of terror. And that's when they're going to be afraid. You're going to see other fear placed upon Esau. All right, let me get Revelation chapter 6, verse 12. It says, "And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth as the fig tree casteth her timely figs." That's the missiles falling down. "When she is shaken of a mighty wind, and the heaven departed as a scroll when it was rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places." All right, so that's the destruction that's going to happen to this place. "And the kings of the earth, and the great men of the great men and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman and every freeman, hid themselves in the dens of in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains," because they're going to go into their bunkers and think the ones that do survive, nobody's going to make it out of America. But there's going to be survivors, through destruction around the four corners of the earth. But they're going to go into slavery. But they're going to try to hide in those bunkers, and the men of the Lord are going to come and snatch them out. It says, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. So it's, man, listen, come on, man. You got Yahweh, for the great day of his wrath is come. Who shall be able to stand? Nobody. Nobody's gonna be able to stand, man, except for the ones that are of the elect. All right. Isaiah chapter 12, verse 12. It says, I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even the man than the golden wedge of Ophir. And you're witnessing that happen right now with the men of the Lord being built up as a hiding place, telling the people, giving people instructions, giving the other elect instructions and the believers instructions, which are part of the elect, instructions on what to do to prepare for that dreadful day of Yahweh Shem Shai. It said, therefore will I shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place, and the wrath of the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai, power of hosts, in the day of his fierce anger. See, this is the anger of the Lord doing all this. And it shall be as the chase road, as a sheep that no man taketh up. And that's how they're gonna be. And they're gonna be hiding in the caves and their bunkers, trying to hide themselves. And it says, they shall every man turn to his own people and flee every one to his own land. Everyone that shall be found shall be thrust through. Right. So everyone that's going to be on this land that where a missile hits, they're going to be destroyed. And everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. Their children shall also be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled, their wives ravished. Right. All right. Then this is ultimately going to happen. So now, what was the main discussion that was talking about in the article? The worst case scenario would be a war between Russia and America. All right, America being Babylon the Great, and Russia being having the spirit of the Medes. All right, verse 17 it says, "Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it." So there's nothing America's not going to be able to bribe their way out of it. They're not going to be able to swindle their way out of this. It's going to be destroyed. It said, "Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when Yahweh overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah." Right. Okay. It says, all right, this is the point. "It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation." Right. So there's not going to be any like crops and everything, talking about imports and exports in and out of America. Because America's going to be destroyed. It says, "And neither shall Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall shepherds make their fold there." So there's not going to be any import or exports or any businesses here in America. It's going to all be made desolate. It says, "But wild beasts of the desert shall lie there like swamp animals, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. And the wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant palaces, and her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged." That's the point. We're almost to the brink of that destruction on America, man. And we can smell it. The sound of battle in the air. It's all brought to forth by Yahweh, by Shem Yahweh Shai. So there's nothing going to happen to these individuals. If anybody around the world makes it, they're going into captivity. It is what it is. So I'll get Isaiah chapter 4, verse 1. It says, no, hold on. Isaiah 14 and 1. Slushing. It's Isaiah 14 and 1. It says, "For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land." Right. "And strangers shall be joined unto them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob." All right, boom, right? And that's the um the believers coming in and cleaving unto the prophets. All right. It says, and the people shall take them and bring them to their places, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord. Right. And we're going to possess these other nations. So anybody that's around after destruction is going to go into slavery. It says, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. And that's ultimately what's going to happen to these other nations that are found left on this earth after this destruction. They go into the slavery. All right, so it ain't gonna be no import, export. Everything gonna come to Israel. All right, to the kingdom, Yashar. All right. Lord willing, this lesson will edify the service purpose of that, like Takal Halayim, La Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Harakak Wadash, my Bach. Double honors to the elder apostles, the great millstone, and my elder Harold as well. Salutations to the occupant that are pushing the truth and sincerity and truth. And peace and blessings to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Shalom.